I have been really excited to talk about this AI app for a little while now. I've been testing it, but it wasn't public, so I couldn't. But it will be in a couple of days, so I'm excited to show you how you can use Make the Dots AI Sketch to Render tool, Stylebuilder. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikkel Drew Pelham. I talk about digital fashion design software and communication for fashion entrepreneurs on this channel. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. I've talked about a couple of other AI tools in this video and this one, but there's a few reasons why I've been pretty excited about Stylebuilder. I'll get into that, but first, let me show you how it works. The first thing you'll want to do is sign up for Make the Dot. There's a 14-day trial, which is great. And once you decide you do want to sign up, the freelancer one-person company rate is pretty reasonable at $35 a month per user. And if you have others on your team who need to use this software, even the next tier, currently priced at $70 per month, is fairly reasonable. Now keep in mind that you're not just signing up for Stylebuilder. There's a lot more that you can do with Make the Dot. And if you're curious what else it can do, you can check out this video. I also know that there are other things in the works. So for an indie designer or indie fashion brand, this is definitely a good tool to add to your digital toolbox. I'm going to focus on the Stylebuilder tool. So I already have a board started that I've added a lot of pictures to. I'm currently using Make the Dot to brainstorm a wardrobe revamp. And eventually I'm going to start adding sketches to this, both Illustrator and hand-drawn, which this will work with both. So let's go right to the AI Stylebuilder icon, this little t-shirt, and from there, just follow the prompts. Choose whether you're designing men's or women's wear, and as you can see, kids is coming soon. Choose a category. I'll be choosing a jacket from the outerwear section, and then I'll upload my sketch. Next, you'll choose a fabric, which I think is really helpful in determining how this renders. Now, there's a whole workflow after it renders that will allow you to change colors. And if you watch my previous AI video, you'll also hear me say that I prefer to render my sketch in white or the lightest color possible so that it's easier to recolor, whether that's here or in another program. So I'm going to choose the lightest color possible and then click render. It'll usually take a minute or so to create the render, and then it'll return two options, and you'll choose whichever one you like the best. I actually think both look pretty good, so I'm just going to pick one. Now, once you're happy with the render, you can either choose to download it as is, you can add it to your Make the Dot board, which I'll eventually show you how to do, or you can edit, which will allow you to add color and or pattern. So let's edit. What it's doing now is called segmenting the image. And this is something else that I think is an advantage that this particular AI sketch to render software has over some of the others I've tried. And particularly if you have a similar background to mine in activewear where you're regularly doing color blocking or fabric blocking, this will allow you to add different colors very simply to your garment. Now on this garment, the segmenting isn't as clean, but it's actually fine because since it's a jacket, I'd most likely do it in one color anyway. I have created other renders where the segmenting is cleaner, but essentially it's creating separate areas within the design so that if you wanted the lapels to be one color and the pocket welts to be another color and the body to be a print, I know this looks hideous, don't judge me. You can do that. But if you're planning to make your jacket all one color, switch this to selecting the whole design, and then you can choose to add a print and you can upload your own. It doesn't have to be cats. And then play with that print, rotation, scale, saturation, lots of the same tools that you can play with if you were doing this in Photoshop. Or you can switch to the color tab and add solid color. And I know on this one, it's also coloring some of the negative space under the arms. I think when I add another jacket sketch, I would just make sure there's a little more separation between the body and the sleeves so that the AI better understands that it's not part of the garment and doesn't need to be colored. And again, if you do have Photoshop, you might want to just pop this one into that program to color it. I'm actually going to keep this white because I think I am going to bring it into Photoshop. Another quick side note, I've been talking to people lately about adding this to their design workflow early on for things like sketch reviews with design managers or clients. And most of the time, you're going to want to keep it white anyway so you can see the details better. So for practical purposes, you'll probably end up keeping your render white. Once you're done with color, you'll click render one last time so it can do its final finishing touches. And you can either download whichever version you prefer, or you can go into the library, click the plus, and it will add the style to the canvas with a color chip and a swatch of the fabric you chose. Now the fabric and color in my case is kind of a placeholder, so I'm going to replace this with a different color as well as a different fabric. And if you check out my previous Make the Dot video, you'll see how I do this in more detail. But I'm first going to update the color chip by selecting it and clicking Edit in the menu bar. This opens a color library, which, by the way, does include Pantone TCX colors. Search for a new color, and then once I select it and hit save, it automatically updates the color chip and color name. Now for the fabric, I'm just going to delete that swatch and completely replace it with something from the fabric widget, which contains lots of fabric options from actual fabric mills and suppliers, so you can start your fabric sourcing directly in Make the Dot. I'm going to search for denim and then choose this very cool denim friendly wool suiting. When you click on the swatch, it tells you a lot of necessary information about the fabric, including the supplier, the mill reference code, the fiber content, the price, and of course I would pick something that's $90 a yard. And should you decide you want to buy some yardage, it links right to the website so you can buy it online. Otherwise, you can just add it to your board for now so you can complete whatever review or meeting you're doing. And if you decide later that you want to buy the fabric, just select it, click details in the pop-up menu, and it takes you right back to the details window so you can go to the website and buy. Okay, I'm getting a little off topic here, but I'm glad I did show you that because it's part of the reason that this AI sketch to render tool is probably my favorite. A couple of weeks ago when I made my last video of the year, I mentioned that I wanted to also talk to you guys about why you choose one software over the other, especially since there is so much out there right now. And although there are lots that could use some improvement, there are some good ones. So part of you making the decision about one versus the other, I think, is how else it can assist and streamline what you're doing so that you're constantly not back and forth in and out of a million apps every day. There's going to be some switching, but however you can minimize that, it'll just make your life a little easier. So why I like this tool is that it covers a lot of the early part of design development. You can create your concept boards, customer boards, you can collect inspirational pictures, you can do all of your early research and add it directly to the canvas. You can do your color boards. Plus, you can collaborate with others in real time. And then once you're ready to add your sketches, whether digital or by hand, you can then run them through AI Stylebuilder and add them directly to your board. That's an overall reason to use this. But then as far as the AI Stylebuilder itself, what I love is that it's speaking the language of a designer and of garments. It starts off asking you what category you're designing for and what fabric, both of which helps to directly inform the AI about how to render this product. And thus far, I haven't seen anybody else doing that, so that's a pretty big advantage. Also, although I usually bring my renders into Photoshop if I need to color them, one thing I will say about Stylebuilder is that it's done the best job of all the other sketch to render apps I've played with in allowing you to not only customize the color you want by allowing you to type in RGB or hex codes, but it also gives you complete saturation of the color. Some of the others I've played with, when you add color, it looks more like an overlay and a lighter version of the color you chose, whereas here, the color I choose from the color picker is the exact color that appears in the garment. I love that I'm able to add the render directly to the boards I've already created right here in Make the Dot, which cuts down on any extra uploading of other picture files I may have to do. I also love that it automatically adds a color and fabric swatch that you can customize later if necessary. One last thing, and this is not a tangible, but it's just some information I happen to know from talking and working with the founders. One of the things I really appreciate is that they come from a fashion company. And although they weren't designers, they've worked closely with them and understand a lot of our pain points. I appreciate that this software feels like it has designers in mind and really considers what we do every day, which isn't that easy to find. Many people are trying to take a more holistic approach and address a bunch of different teams. And what often happens is that design tends to get the short end of the stick in terms of addressing our needs. But I really feel like Make the Dot and this AI style builder is design focused. And I'm sure going forward, they'll start adding in more that will address cross-functional team needs. But the design forward approach is really appreciated. I know that they're constantly updating and improving this. So if you like what you see, it's just going to keep getting better. My guess is that they'll expand the categories. There's already notes about that on the site. I'm also assuming, i.e., I'm hoping, hint, hint, Make the Dot folks, that they'll eventually connect that fabric widget to this. So the fabric options link directly back to a fabric you've sourced in the software. That's probably a tall ask, but just putting it out there. And I suspect that they're just getting started with this. And I'm personally excited to see where their development goes. Like I said, it's very design focused. So I think they'll start adding some truly helpful things that we didn't even know we needed. So yes, to suggesting to add this to the digital toolbox. AI Style Builder is awesome, and it's housed within a software, Make the Dot, that's multifunctional, covering several of your initial design development tasks. Thanks for watching today's video. If you want to learn a little more about Make the Dot, make sure you check out this next video that will show you an overview of how to use the software. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time.